Jordan has a very savage head arm choke. I was doing every defense I could. I was, doing hold the phone, driving my arm up over my face to ruin the angle. But man, it didn't matter because his bite on my neck was so deep.
The bite is the most important aspect of an arm triangle, so much so that if you have a good bite, you can even hit the choke with just one arm. Picture a bite like you would scissors. If there's a big gap, the bite will be weak. If you bring the scissors closer to the pivot point, you gain more leverage, more power in the scissors, and more power in the choke. I'm going to teach you how to get the perfect arm triangle bite, entries into the arm triangle, finishing mechanics, and more. Let's get started with how to set the arm triangle up. The arm triangle is most commonly available from mount. From mount, your opponent will use their arms to defend your attack. You need to isolate one of their arms so they can't use it to defend and so you can attack it. You need to bring their elbow at least level with their shoulder, but the higher past their shoulder you bring their elbow, the better. There are two main ways to do this. One is by finding a gap between your opponent's bicep and torso to take an underhook. Your opponent should be keeping their elbows tight to prevent this, but often when they're trying to escape, they'll momentarily create an opening. Once you see it, take it. Two is by placing your bicep underneath their elbow. In both methods, the goal now is to jack up their arm to separate it from their body. You do this by crawling your fingers up the mat, gaining inches or even centimeters as you go. Even against a much stronger opponent, crawling your fingers up works wonders to jack up their arm. Once you've jacked up their arm high enough so that their elbow is in line with or ideally in front of their shoulder, you can now transfer your head to behind the elbow in place of your arm. You want to bring your head ear to ear with your opponent for the perfect head position. Now that we've gone over the setup, let's look deeper into choke bites. But first, quickly, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, LMNT. I love Jiu-Jitsu and I love training hard, but the issue with that is that sometimes I would get these annoying muscle cramps, not just during Jiu-Jitsu, but also when I'd just be resting and minding my own business as well. This happens due to the loss of electrolytes, which facilitates literally hundreds of bodily functions, such as fluid balance, hormones, and even nutrient absorption. In other words, electrolytes are super important, especially sodium, which athletes lose a lot of through sweat. And when sodium isn't replenished adequately, that's when you experience those muscle cramps and fatigue. And that's why I'm so happy that I found out about LMNT. It's a tasty electrolyte mix with everything you need and nothing you don't, meaning that it contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Plus it comes with no junk, with no sugar, no coloring, no artificial sweeteners. With that said, my cramps have been gone ever since I started drinking it regularly, and I feel so much better rested for training the next day. Right now, LMNT is offering a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serving packets free with any LMNT order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors and share it with a salty friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/JordanTeaches. This deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/JordanTeaches. Visualize my pointer finger as a neck and my right hand as scissors. If I use the tips of my fingers, they'll be weak. Once I establish a deep bite, not only will the pressure be amplified substantially, but look how my fingers acting as scissors also completely wrap around my pointer finger, which is acting as a neck. This will ensure that the pressure is going to the carotid artery, which is what you need to block off to put someone to sleep. In an arm triangle, this is what a weak bite looks like, a gap between your forearm and bicep. If you can stick your finger in the gap, you know you have a weak bite. You need to get rid of that gap. Ideally, you get a perfect bite as soon as you take a crossface, but often you need to adjust for a deeper bite. You can do this before transferring your head over or after. To adjust your bite, what you need to do is bring your choking arm as deep onto the neck as possible, as if you're trying to reach your hand past your opponent's body. To do so, you can lift up on the head and reach deeper with the choking arm. As you do, you can also wiggle your hand to gain more and more depth with each wiggle. Once you've taken a deep bite, you can now squeeze. I never waste energy until the bite is perfect, and neither should you. You can feel when it's perfect. You can feel the soft part of their neck where the carotid artery is located with your bicep. If the bite is perfect, you don't need to do anything crazy. Just squeeze while focusing on forcing your bicep into the soft part of their neck. If you have a good bite, you should barely even have to squeeze. I kept nearly putting my uke to sleep, and I was putting on zero pressure. It's because the choke bite was so good. If you have to squeeze hard, your bite isn't perfect. This is a great example of position before submission. Put yourself in the perfect position and then submit. A great way to practice this and practice getting clean chokes is to not lock up your hands. Do it with one hand as much as you can as practice. Because if you can do it with one hand, doing it with two hands becomes a breeze. When doing it with two hands, I highly recommend a gable grip. Rather than a rear naked choke style grip, I don't think the rear naked choke style grip works great, meaning that you'll have to utilize more muscle than you need to. The gable grip has the advantage of being able to pull your choking arm deeper as you squeeze. The pressure of your bicep on one carotid artery is the most important aspect of the choke. With nearly all chokes, you block off one carotid artery primarily and the second carotid artery secondary. Although it is possible to choke someone with only one carotid artery blocked. In an arm triangle, the second carotid artery is blocked off by your opponent's shoulder, and you can get more pressure on it by driving your head into that arm. Some like to lift their head closer to the elbow to drive into it. I don't. I like to keep it low. I barely even care about that side of the neck and just focus on getting a good bite. A good bite makes everything else matter so much less. If you can, I recommend finishing from mount because it greatly reduces your opponent's ability to escape. However, finishing from side control offers greater ability to drive their shoulder into their neck and pull your bicep towards you. You should dismount only if you need to, and if you do, you need to make sure your opponent cannot catch your legs and re-guard as you transition to side control. Backstepping or windshield wiping your legs are two effective ways to do so. To finish from side control, I like to bring my body low and beside them as if I'm trying to bring my lat muscle underneath theirs. Although there are other variations and ways to position your body, this is what I find most effective. Alright, thanks for sticking around until the end of the video. If you're still here, please leave a comment or a fist bump, and I'll see you next time.